and we're in DuPont for another Memorial Day ceremony honoring Medal of Honor recipient Wilburn Ross.
The memorial service for a fallen soldier is a solemn event meant both to honor their service and provide their family and fellow brothers and sisters in arms the chance to reflect on their character and sacrifices that were made by the departed to keep our nation free. Surrounding Ross Plaza is a flag line made up of veterans who have joined us to honor Master Sergeant Ross. They bring the colors of our nation and their organization colors as a testament to the long line of military members who have served our great nation and tirelessly honored their fallen comrades in arms. Before you is a battlefield cross of the period in which Master Sergeant Ross served. The helmet and the identification tags signify that the departed was a soldier. The inverted rifle with bayonet signals a time for prayer and a break in the action to pay tribute to our comrade. The combat boots represent the final march of Master Sergeant Ross. Starting the ceremony will be a roll call, simple yet powerful. It reminds us that our brother is no longer able to muster and answer the call of arms. You will hear 3 volleys of 7 shots fired in honor of Master Sergeant Ross from behind me. The firing of volleys comes from an old battlefield custom. The 2 warring sides will cease hostilities to clear their fallen from the battlefield, and the firing of 3 volleys meant that the fallen had been properly cared for and the side was ready to resume the battle. Taps would then be played by a lone bugler as current and retired members of the armed forces render the final salute as our last show of respect and honor to Master Sergeant Ross. At the conclusion of the formal ceremony, a folded flag will then be presented to the family of Master Sergeant Ross as a symbol of our community's gratitude for sharing their loved one with us and for his service. It is great pleasure to announce our next speaker. Senator Cantwell has been a champion for veterans. Down the road at JBLM, Senator Cantwell helped military families by modernizing Carter Lake and Hillside elementary schools so that students who live on base have the best education possible. In 2011, when service members from closed facilities were transferred to JBLM, Senator Cantwell helped their families find jobs. Senator Cantwell understands that JBLM plays an integral role in our nation's strategic defense. She helped veterans retire with dignity and receive retirement pay concurrently with disability pay. And she made sure National Guard and Reserve Service members could get TRICARE health care benefits. Today, Senator Cantwell is working to extend tax credits for businesses that hire veterans and build on the programs that help veterans, our service members and women, and their families. Please welcome the United States Senator Maria Cantwell.
Thank you, Colonel Briscoe. I'm so honored to be here today with the Mayor, Colonel Briscoe, the men and women of Joint Base Lewis McChord, the Ross family, and Desmond Doss, Jr. I'm also glad to be here with my colleagues, Congressman Heck, and many of our local elected officials. We are here today to honor the brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice to defend and protect all of us and the values that we hold so dear. We also celebrate the life of one heroic soldier, in particular, Master Sergeant Wilburn K. Ross, one of the last remaining Medal of Honor recipients from World War II. Master Sergeant Ross epitomized the values of the greatest generation. He was humble and kind, completely committed to the U.S. Army and his fellow soldiers. And as a part of Company G, 30th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division, then Private Ross fought fascism across North Africa, Sicily, Italy, France, Germany, Australia, and eventually capturing Hitler's mountain retreat. In France, outside the town of St. Jacques, Private Ross repelled numerous German attacks virtually on his own, remaining an outpost for 36 straight hours. His heroism saved the lives of the remaining members of his company and defended a strategic point for the Allied forces. This demonstration of uncommon valor and bravery led to the Congressional Medal of Honor for Private Ross. Other honors would follow. The Private Wilburn K. Ross Highway near his birthplace in Kentucky, the Wilbur K. Ross Nature Trail and Ross Plaza Park right here in DuPont, the Tillicum Veterans of Foreign War Post named after him, and his photo is used on the cover of a stamp sheet from the U.S. Postal Service commemorating World War II Medal of Honor recipients. Master Sergeant Ross was a welcome presence in our state. His Medal of Honor commemorative license plate was a common sight around town. Sometimes Washington State Patrol officers would pull him over just to shake his hand and thank him for his service. Ross would be the first to tell you that sometimes they would pull him over because he also had a lead foot. Perhaps Master Sergeant Ross' most remarkable trait was his sincere humbleness. Despite his encounters with presidents and landmarks named in his honor and the adoration of his community, Master Sergeant Ross remained humble. To his last day, Master Sergeant Ross remained a loving husband and father and community member, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Each Memorial Day, we come together to remember the fallen soldiers who defended the United States, true heroes whose bravery have played important roles in our nation's history. So many of their families are here today, and we thank you, and our thoughts and prayers are with you, because we are honored to be among you today to remember the actions of your loved ones. A famous author said, quote, "A hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than themselves," end quote. We should all be encouraged by the strength, resilience, and commitment that so many Americans have made to serve our country and to give so much for all of us. One of the best tributes that we can do today is to recall their stories, to recall their service, and to recall how much they have done for our nation to continue today. Our state provides a home to over 600,000 veterans. So from Spokane to Bremerton, from Woodby to Joint Base Lewis McChord, all over today, we are remembering those who served our nation. We thank you all for coming today to honor Master Sergeant Wilbur Ross and to reflect on the remembrance of these military heroes. We thank all of them for their dedication of America's defense, for the values and the opportunities that it has laid before us, and for the strength that it has given our country. Thank you.
Senator Cantwell, thank you for joining us today and for your inspired words. we are honored you took the time to honor not only Master Sergeant Ross, but those from DuPont who have fallen in the global war on terrorism. I am pleased to introduce Representative Denny Hack. Congressman Hack is dedicated to the memory, protection, and recognition of veterans. He has taken the stories of American heroes as part of the congressionally funded Library of Congress Oral History Project in such places as Patriot Landing, safeguarding their efforts and sacrifices against the tyranny of time so that future generations will know of their contributions. Representative Hack is committed to ensuring service members, veterans, and their families are protected, being a lead on a law that protects veterans and service members from foreclosure actions as they deploy to war zones around the world. Congressman Hack is the first to volunteer to recognize veterans. From awarding medals to unheralded heroes like Colonel Daniel Dudak, who is a great friend of mine, who was gravely injured in an IED blast in Iraq, to recognizing First Lieutenant Victor Candle, who was killed in battle in 1944, and awarded posthumously the Medal of Honor, the Silver Star, the Bronze Star, and the Purple Heart. Representative Hack will remind us of the courage and sacrifices made by Master Sergeant Ross. Congressman Hack, United States House of Representatives.
Thank you, Colonel, so very much. Today I have the distinct honor of actually reading the citation that accompanied the Medal of Honor earned by Master Sergeant Wilburn Ross, then Private Wilburn Ross. For those of you who have not heard this story, I doubt you're prepared for it. It is the stuff of legends. Follow with me, please. The citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity, for gallantry, at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty near Saint-Jacques, France, at 11:30 a.m. on October 30, 1944, after his company had lost 55 out of 88 men in an attack on an entrenched, full-strength German company of elite mountain troops, Private Ross placed his light machine gun 10 yards in advance of the foremost supporting rifleman in order to absorb the initial impact of an enemy counterattack. With machine gun and small arms fire striking the earth near him, he fired with deadly effect on the assaulting force and repelled it. Despite the hail of automatic fire and the explosion of rifle grenades within a stone's throw of his position, he continued to man his machine gun alone, holding off 6 more German attacks. When the 8th assault was launched, most of his supporting riflemen were out of ammunition. They took positions in echelon behind Private Ross and crawled up during the attack to extract a few rounds of ammunition from his machine gun ammunition belt. Private Ross fought on virtually without assistance, and despite the fact that enemy grenadiers crawled to within 4 yards of his position in an effort to kill him with hand grenades, he again directed accurate and deadly fire on the hostile force and hurled it back. After expending his last rounds, Private Ross was advised to withdraw to the company command post together with 8 surviving riflemen. But, as more ammunition was expected, he declined to do so. The Germans launched their last all-out attack, converging their fire on Private Ross in a desperate attempt to destroy the machine gun, which stood between them and a decisive breakthrough. As his supporting riflemen fixed bayonets for a last-ditch stand, fresh ammunition arrived and was brought to Private Ross just as the advanced assault elements were about to swarm over his position. He opened murderous fire on the oncoming enemy, killed 40 and wounded 10 of the attacking force, broke the assault single-handedly, and forced the Germans to withdraw. Having killed or wounded at least 58 Germans in more than 5 hours of continuous combat, and saved the remnants of his company from destruction, Private Ross remained at his post that night and the following day for a total of 36 hours. His actions throughout this engagement were an inspiration to his comrades and maintained the high traditions of military service. I first met Sergeant Ross right here. I was sitting in the second row of the middle section, one over from him. I didn't know him. I'd never met him. I noticed the telltale ribbon on his back of light blue and starred color. And I kept craning my neck around to see what hung on the end of it. Finally, it occurred to me. I got up, I walked around, and introduced myself. When President Truman awarded Master Sergeant Ross, then Private Ross, the Congressional Medal of Honor, he said, "It is a greater honor than even serving as President of the United States." Indeed, I can relate to that. What a great honor it was. Indeed, as Senator Cantwell so eloquently indicated, a humble man. My favorite scripture passage is found in Micah 6:8. What is asked of us, God? These three things: do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your Lord. Today, Sergeant Ross walks humbly with his Lord. He was so open and unassuming about telling his story. And of course, he had to flash the famous photo of President Kennedy shaking his hand. You all seen it, right, General Richardson? We've all seen it. How appropriate that today is the 100th anniversary of the birth of President Kennedy. Sergeant Ross was still on active duty when that occurred, which he spent 20 years at. So last week I didn't come home, which is rare for me. I stayed in Washington, D.C. and visited Arlington Cemetery, and I stood over the eternal flame of President Kennedy at his final resting place. And visited all those other sites at Arlington Cemetery, the unbelievably moving changing of the guard ceremony, 21 steps across, 21 steps back, taps, and more. Arlington House, the mast of the Maine, the sunset behind the Iwo Jima Memorial. It's inescapable to be awestruck by it all. But the most chest-heavy part of visiting Arlington Cemetery is the seemingly infinite number of headstones. 2 feet tall, 13 inches wide, 4 inches thick. 2 feet tall, 13 inches wide, 4 inches thick. Some adorned with the Latin cross, some with the Star of David, all branches of the military, all ranks, every war since the Civil War represented. Some without a name. More than 400,000 laid to rest. It is a stunning, take your breath away visual. And no other image brings home the magnitude of sacrifice that headstones as far as the eye can see. Every single one of those headstones is why we have Memorial Day. Each of them. We get to celebrate our lives together because of all of them. I've been fortunate to spend many past Memorial Days with all of you, bringing attention to our nation's heroes. Sergeant Ross was a participant of the DuPont Memorial Day ceremonies for a long time and a part of our world for nearly 95 years. Today we honor Sergeant Ross and all those who gave the last full measure of devotion and pledge to never fully say goodbye to that great man or the rest, because we will hold them in our hearts forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Heck. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to honor Master Sergeant Ross and are reminded of how great a man he was by your eloquent words. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.
Major General Farmer!
Here, First Sergeant!
First Sergeant Chavez!
Here, First Sergeant!
Master Sergeant Aldridge!
Here, First Sergeant!
Master Sergeant Ross! Master Sergeant Wilburn Ross! Master Sergeant Wilburn K. Ross!
Please be seated. The flag is a symbol of our national honor. Red represents the blood shed to secure our freedom. White is symbolic of the purity of our values. Blue is symbolic of the nobility of the American spirit. The flag is presented folded because when used to honor a soldier in his death, the flag is officially retired and is never to be flown or unfurled again. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a privilege to honor the memory of Master Sergeant Ross. We will now continue our ceremony by honoring DuPont's own, who have made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation since September 11th, 2001. I present retired Police Chief Bob Sheehan.
Thank you, Colonel Briscoe and members of the 6th Military Police Group CID and members of JBLM for helping us honor Master Sergeant Ross, a hero and a neighbor. Please allow me to recognize our special guests. First, the families of Master Sergeant Ross, Greg, Maureen, and Paul, and their families. Those we remember with this memorial: Gold Star Mom Christine Fallstone, Mother of Specialist Alexandra Fallstone, Lisa Hallett, wife of Captain John Hallett, Rachel Elizalde Powell, and all the families here of those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. We honor and thank you for your sacrifice. Welcome to Senator Maria Cantwell, U.S. Senate, Representative Denny Heck, U.S. House of Representatives. Thank you both for visiting on this very special day. State Senator Steve O'Ban, Washington Senate, State Representative Christine Kildoff, Pierce County Councilmember Doug Richardson and his wife Charlene, DuPont Mayor Mike Kortz and his wife Robbie, DuPont Deputy Mayor Roger Westman and his wife Sharon, Councilmember Penny Coffey and her husband Roy, Council members Shauna Gassick, Matt Helder, his wife Shelley, Eric Korp, all of DuPont. Steilacoom Council member Fred Crumley and Lakewood Council member Mary Moss. Major General Ken Farmer, retired. And Brigadier General Ron Stevens, Deputy Commander of MedCom, Regional Command Pacific. A very special welcome to First Sergeant Dominique Chavez of Master Sergeant Ross's unit in World War II, the 2nd Battalion of the 30th Infantry Regiment, the Wild Boars of Fort Polk, Louisiana. Thank you for coming all this way, First Sergeant, and for reminding us with your presence that the military remembers the ones who came before you. Welcome to the Wear Blue Run to Remember team with us today, and of course, citizens and guests of the great city of DuPont. You can see on the wall behind me that DuPont has made a great sacrifice over the past 16 years. Our close relationship with JBLM and having so many members of JBLM in our community means that the price of freedom is borne and felt strongly in DuPont when we lose those we love. This memorial is a silent, enduring testament to that sacrifice. This is not the only way DuPont remembers those who are given their full measure, however. A unique living memorial was started right here in DuPont. Every week, families, friends gather to express their loss, their hope, love, and to comfort each other by running. Early today, we had another great Wear Blue Run to Remember Memorial Day run. It is my honor to introduce our first speaker from Wear Blue Run to Remember. Please welcome Rachel Elizalde Powell.
Thank you, Chief Sheehan, and thank you to the community for asking us to come and participate in today's event. In very few communities do you find the likes of the support and the connection that is uniquely evident in Wear Blue Run to Remember. We are a running organization that honors the service and sacrifice of our American military. We stand on 3 pillars: for the fallen, for the fighting, and for the families. It's important for us to be a safe place for our service members to know that their families can come together during those difficult deployments. It's also important for those service members when they're downrange to know that they belong wherever they are and can put on a blue shirt and know that they are part of something bigger. But those families that do remain here and wait for the safe return of their loved ones, they have somewhere to belong, something that is bigger than them, something that gives them hope. For those who are Gold Star family members, we have a place to come and share. We have a place to belong. When we lose our loved ones, suddenly we find that our identity has changed. However, this community has given us our identity. We run, we share, we remember the love, we honor those individuals. We bring life back to them with our footsteps. It starts out solemn sometimes on a Saturday morning, but the power of each of us coming together grows. And when we end the day, there's smile, there's laughter. It's because we've all come together and we are one large family. It's open to anybody to come out, and you don't have to have a blue shirt to come and be present. What's simply important is that you belong. You belong with all of us. Today was very special for various reasons. We had almost 2,000 individuals come out to represent and be a part of our living memorial. We as adults come out and we share. We had 21 children come out today who stood up and proudly called out the name of their loved one. They started out the race with us and led the way. I saw joy, I saw passion, I saw courage as each and every one of those kids crossed that finish line. 9 weeks ago, they got out there, and there were a lot of times where I saw some of those kids perhaps wanting to pick daisies instead of pounding out footsteps. But today they charged through the finish, and there was sweat and there was pride. And what was important is that they remembered, and we gave them a place to belong. As was mentioned, every Saturday we come out. We have the names of our fallen service members from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're on strips of paper. Those pieces of paper don't just represent ink. It represents a life. It represents love. Every weekend it changes. Every month it changes. Every year it's also different. But what's important is that we do remember their names. We do bring out the joy in calling out those names for those family members that are waiting at home to know that they have had their loved one remembered. So thank you to all of you that came out today. Thank you to all of you that would like to have the opportunity to come out on any given Saturday. You're all invited. You're all a part of the family. Thank you.